In this video lecture, we are going to see dissolution of the monasteries. What are the causes for the dissolution of monasteries? King Henry VIII, he became the head of the Church of England according to the Act of Supremacy that was passed by the Reformation Parliament in 1534. Certain section of the people were opposed to the measure. Chief among them were the monks who remained loyal to Pope. In order to take revenge on them, Henry began to think of dissolving all monasteries in the country. Their landed property amounted to 1/6 of all the cultivated land in the country. Apart from that, they had untold wealth, like in plates, jewels, and robes. This was too great a temptation for the king, who was badly in need of money. Centers of learning. There were also other circumstances which were responsible for the dissolution of monasteries. This one is also like that. Most of the monasteries had ceased to be centers of learning. Throughout the 15th century, there was not a single monk of outstanding scholarship. Nor did the monks practice aesthetic ideals as their illustrious predecessors had done in the earlier centuries. Growing anticlericalism. Clergy become corrupt and pleasure-loving, and naturally enough they won the hatred of lay people. This slowly but steadily led to growing anticlericalism. Chaucer and Wycliffe, who were pious Christians, had given timely warning, but their words turned out to be nothing more than a cry in the wilderness. In the time of Henry VIII, a few years before the dissolution of monasteries, the voice the general public was indirectly expressed through the pamphlet. The name of the pamphlet is Supplication of the Beggars, written in the form of address to the king. Apparently, the pamphleteer's suggestion was that the clergy, especially the monks and the friars, should be deprived of their wealth for the benefit of the king and the kingdom, and made to work like other men. This anti-clericalism attitude was not confined to ordinary people alone. Erasmus, this is Erasmus, he also, he's a Renaissance scholar. He could help making fun of the corrupt clergy in the form of book. The name of the book is Praise of Folly. This new outlook was no doubtly largely due to the spirit of independence emerging in laymen as a result of the Renaissance. Dissolution of small leading to the big one. After the Act of Supremacy passed in 1534, in 1536, King Henry VIII introduced the Parliament to pass Act of Abolition of Monasteries. He started by suppressing the small monasteries with endowment with worth less than £200 a year. And in the very first year of the passing the act, nearly 400 such monasteries were dissolved. The high-handed behavior of the king sparked off a riot called Pilgrimage of Grace in northern countries like Lancashire and Yorkshire. But it subsided in a few months. In this, Henry VIII ordered the dissolution of the bigger monasteries too, and most of them, one after another, surrendered without any resistance or least resistance. The head of some monasteries raised objection to the new order of the king, but they were all ruthlessly dealt with. The one of the person is Abbot of Glastonbury. He was accused to treason and hanged in front of his own gatehouse as a warning to those who dared to afford the royal bill, who dared to afford the king. And on 23rd March 1540, the least great abbey at Bethlehem surrendered, and the dissection of monasteries was totally almost complete. He was planning to confiscate the chantries and other pious foundations, but before he do this, he died. So this mission, this task left to his young son, Edward VI. Monks, friars and nuns affected by the dissolution. Historians differ in their assessment of number of monks, friars affected by the dissolution of the monasteries. According to G.M. Trevelyan, 5,000 monks, 1,600 friars and 2,000 nuns were sent back into the world, sent out from the church, affected by the dissolution of monasteries. They received some pension from the government ranging from £25 to £1,000 per annum. Those who received the maximum benefit were the abbots of the great monasteries who had surrendered to the king without resistance. The nuns were worst treated here. Here the worst treated is none than the monks, as they were given only a gown from the king and left to find work or live on charity. No one cared about the people, the nun, especially the nun. All the monks and friars under the age of 24 were absolved from the vows which they had taken on becoming monks. They were free to get married and seek employment elsewhere. Monastic loot. All the movable property, such as plates and jewels, went into the royal treasury. Landed were transferred to the crown, but did not remain in the hand of king for long. Because of the financial difficulties that cropped out from time to time, he was forced to sell most of the landed property to all kind of buyers. Anyone who can come and buy the monastic land in the period of King Henry VIII. The monastic loot was spent in three different ways. First, part of it went into the royal coffers. Second, some was used in endowing new bishoprics. And third, the rest of the given to gentlemen as a reward for service or sold to anyone. The king's share was afterward used for founding Trinity College, Cambridge, for fortifying the harbours and to build up a royal navy. That's how the king used their land. Monastic property. People of all ranking came forward to buy monastic property. The biggest individuals buyers were noblemen. The great bulk of monastic property, however, were not to the few big buyers, but to the mass of smaller men. Land in the Tudor England meant power and prestige, for landholders had public duties trusted upon them by the king. This was an inducement for the rich merchants, lawyers and doctors, all of whom brought the monastic land and started settling down as country gentlemen. In the ultimate analysis, what really happened was that the power enjoyed by the clergy so long passed to this class of fortunate gentry. The emergence of this landed class as highly powerful section of English society may be considered the most important social consequences of the dissolution of monasteries. And finally, social effects. The dissolution of monasteries also had other consequences on the poor people. The suppression of popular centers on pilgrimage unfavorably affected the wealth and importance of some towns and districts which were not able to prosper as centers of industry and trade. For centuries together, the preaching friars, both Franciscan and Dominican, were a common sight on the road of England. But after the suppression of monasteries, dissolution of monasteries, the King's Act, they disappear completely from the scene of social life, and their place to some extent was taken up by the Protestant preacher because of a dissolution of monasteries. I hope you understand this lecture. Thank you. Thank you all.